Pod is Good podcast. This is episode 7. This is episode 7 of the Pod is Good podcast. Pod is good and all the time. If you know, you know. If you don't, you'll learn. Welcome back. Happy to have y'all here. Step in, walk inside. Come on, make yourself at home. Get comfortable. Relax, pull out the lazy boy. We're going to have a couple conversations today. We're going to have a conversation today with one of my favorite guys. I should have better mic etiquette. I shouldn't be way back here, but I was trying to show you how relaxed I want you to be. This is one of my favorite gentlemen who is one of my most musically inclined, lyrically inclined compadres on the planet. This guy has shown himself to be a creator in so many outfits. His artistic expression expands beyond just rap. It goes into production. It goes into design. And when I say design, I don't mean one facet of design. It could be digital design, multiple styles of digital design. Truthfully, it could be his home. I've been there. When I say that he shows out as a creative, it is quite an understatement. But you guys should be thoroughly entertained and enjoy my next guest, who is joining us here in the studio for the first time. Episode 7. Okay, we are here. We making moves. You know what I'm saying? Watch the growth. You know what I'm saying? Y'all get to enjoy this. You get to enjoy the growth. That's a beautiful thing about being one of the first kids on the block. You get to watch the block grow. You get to say, I remember when that wasn't over there. I remember when they first started putting that up. You know what I'm saying? You one of the OGs right now if you tuning in. Now, if you tuning in and it's like 2032 right now, then this is probably old school to you. Probably found us in the archive somewhere, but I guarantee you everything we saying is real as it gets today. That's probably even realer by the time we at you, because we think in the future. Me and this guy, we're always ahead of the curve. And so, with that being said, I'm not gonna waste any more time, ladies and gentlemen. My guy, you know him, you love him, famous without being famous, a celebrity without being a celebrity. And one of the best people I've ever met. Give it up for my man, Edvanzd.
Yo, what's happening?
What's good with you, sir?
I'm good, my brother.
Man, I'm so glad to have you on the show. So
Yes,
happy
sir.
to see you. Love the backdrop. I see the sign back there, Advanced. I got to get one of them.
Yes, sir.
Maybe mine will say Advanced too. Who knows? I mean, who knows?
It's a mindset, man, as well.
All right, we're going. I want to talk to you about the Nation of Islam, right? I want to get into that, but we got to start off a little more gentle, even though I know this could be a long conversation in what I'm about to say.
Okay.
And for you, I'm going to do it a little different. I've talked to some guests and I had them list off their top 5 female rap artists of all time.
Wow.
I've had somebody list off their top 5 male R&B groups of all time.
Wow.
I had a guest today. He listed off his top 5 sitcoms of all time. You know, we doing things a little different around here.
Okay.
All right. Now, with you being such a developed MC, I'm going to give you a more developed criteria on building this particular list.
Really?
Okay. Guys, I've already heard your top 10 rap artists list, right?
Yeah.
But I'm going to take it a step further.
Yes, sir.
I want to know your top 10 rap groups of all time.
Wow.
Rap groups of all time. Now, here's some of the criteria.
Okay.
I'm not going to give you a lot because I want to leave it open. I mean, it's a big ask to spit out the top 5 rap groups. Okay,
there's a lot, brother. Okay,
there's a lot. All right. So I want the list to highly focus on impact.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, leading a region.
Mm.
Okay. Skill set
Mhm.
and longevity.
Hmm. Yikes. Okay.
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 Okay. That's I
Jeez.
know. I know. I know.
Boy, you cold blooded. You cold blooded.
Out
Okay.
the gate.
All right.
We're gonna get into it. All right. So I'm trying to give you some time to let those names, let those groups, let that impression kind of build in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to start out giving it as a list of 1 through 5, you can. If you just want to list the names out, you can, and we can kind of build the one
Okay.
through five as we go. But off top,
Okay.
how do you
Off
answer that
top.
question? Top 5 rap groups of all time.
Jeez. Uh, gotta say Outcast.
Outcast.
Yeah,
That is
gotta
a
come on now.
dominant
Um,
first choice. That sets
my
the stage.
yeah,
That
yeah.
choice sets the stage.
Yeah, it does.
you honestly cannot say Kid and Play anymore. If you were thinking about it, you cannot put Kid and Play in after you said
Oh no. We got a grade on the curve. No, let's see. I gotta go run DMC. I gotta go run
Run.
DMC.
Run DMC.
Man.
Fire. Fire.
Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang.
Wu-Tang.
Yes, sir. Um, man,
These are monsters.
man.
These are monsters.
NWA. Yes, sir. Um, where we at? Where we at with it?
So that's
Uh,
Outkast, that's Wu-Tang, that's NWA, and I missed
WA.
one. And
Run DMC.
Run DMC. Whew.
Okay, now, I gotta go back. I gotta go back, and
Let's go
that's
back.
that's gonna be
Let's
that's
go
gonna
back.
be Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. Got to,
See,
got to.
see, I told y'all. I
Yeah,
told y'all. That's why that's my guy.
yes, sir.
Yeah, he pulled out. Oh my good. And you hit every mark.
Yeah,
Like impression or impact, leading a region, skill set,
yes, sir.
longevity.
Yes, sir. Yes,
That's a
sir.
list, boy. That is a titan of a list, bro.
Yes, sir.
Oh my gosh. Outcast with Andre the GOAT
You
and
better know it.
Big Boy and Run DMC, which is come on, my Adidas changed the
Yes.
changed
Talking
the
the ladder,
landscape.
brother. Just.
That made brands go, wait a minute,
Mm-hmm.
there's money over
Mm-hmm.
there in that neighborhood, in that borough.
Note to self.
Right.
Mhm.
NWA
Yes, sir.
put a whole new genre to
Yep.
hip hop, brought a whole new
Yep.
genre to it.
Yep.
Um, what was it? I keep forgetting one. Outcast,
We have
Run
Wu
DMC,
Tang.
Wu Tang, Wu
Yes, sir.
Tang, Wu
Yeah.
Tang, the biggest hip hop market. Wu Tang to hip hop marketing is what the Jordan is to basketball.
Yo, talk about it.
There
Talk about
isn't
it.
another more recognized symbol
Yes,
in
sir.
hip hop than Wu Tang,
Wu
just
Tang.
like the Jordan's logo is to
Yep.
basketball.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep. And what was so genius about it is every individual incorporated the Wu logo in whatever branding they were doing, which expanded the brand and made
Expanded the
sure
brand.
that no matter what, Wu Tang.
You
It's
know
gonna come
Wu
right
Tang.
back to the foundation, to the root of that tree. Bruh. Yeah. Yeah.
Fire choice. And then the last, Grandmaster Flash of the Furious Five.
Yes, sir.
Yo, there's obviously debate about the Furious Five and then Sugar Hill and who was really in the beginning, because a lot of people know the
Mhm.
story of I can't think of her name. It was right there. the lady who discovered um Sugar Hill Gang.
Sugar Hill Gang.
I
Yeah.
can't think
Who
of her
started the
name.
label? Yeah, I'm drawing a blank with you, brother.
But her,
Yeah.
we know that she actually saw the Furious Five performing, and that's
Yep.
what made her go, "Oh, this hip hop thing is something." And then when
Yep.
she put together the Sugar Hill Gang, and so
Exactly.
that's a toss. How do you look at it? Do you look at it like, if it wasn't for the Furious Five and Grandmaster Flash, then she doesn't see it, and so she doesn't go and get Sugar Hill? Or
Right.
do you say, but if Sugar Hill doesn't present it on the mainstream, because before them, they looked at hip hop like, no, this is an underground thing. It's not for the mainstream. If they
True
don't
that.
put it on the mainstream, it's not celebrating 50 years right now. Like, how do you
True that.
look
Chicken or
at
the
it?
egg, brother. Chicken or the egg.
Okay. Great list though, bro. Great list. I knew you were gonna come with one.
Yes,
And
sir.
and you made it seem like I was giving you something difficult, but I knew that was light work. I knew that was light work for you. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So I know a lot about you, homie. A lot. We've been down for years,
Yes, sir.
years and years and years. We spent a lot of time with each other. Our families know each other. But there's an area of you that I feel like I don't know.
Mm.
There's a part of you that I feel like I started to get a hint of through social media over the past couple of years, but because you reside in a different city now,
Mm.
I was like, oh, I don't think I knew this side of him. So can we talk about the Nation of Islam, or how you put it, how you would say it? What is your belief system, if you don't mind sharing? I just want to get
Okay.
into that because I don't know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Indeed. Well, I was actually raised Muslim and Baptist, right? So I was raised in a dual religion household, if you want to, label the religions of that. So I was able to see the beauty in both ideologies
Hmm.
and the similarities of where the foundation of all of these came from. Whether you're talking about Islam, whether you're talking about Christianity, Judaism, all of that, right?
Right.
It all, sent us right back to the same root. But yeah, and specifically as far as Muslim goes, it was the Nation of Islam. So I mean, it's just, I'm blessed that I was able to grow up with both perspectives, to be able to understand both perspectives and understand when
Yeah.
someone's speaking from this. I'm like, no, I get you. I know what you're talking about. I'm with you with it. I'm with you on that. And then they say, no, but this and this and this. I'm like, nah, I'm with you on that too. I get
Mm,
what you're saying because I've seen it from both sides.
yeah.
So yeah, man.
I got you. Okay. So is it like I said, I started seeing it more now.
Mhm.
Has it been something that's grown in you in more recent years, or are you just being more vocal about it nowadays? Like, kind of, where do you, knowing that you were raised with both religions kind of as your foundation, which all, like you said, source back to the belief in God, right?
Correct.
Even as I know it, stories of Abraham and Abraham, you know, same story. It's like,
Same story.
right. But I do know that, obviously Christianity was around years and years and years before Nation of Islam, though somehow they still have, very similar um stories that they tell.
Right.
What, if anything, more recently has brought that out of you? Have you felt like a new surge to kind of present that part of you? Has there been something that you saw just like in the world where you felt like this message that I feel over here, that I know over here, needs to kind of be brought to the forefront? Like, what do you say to that?
It's a little bit of all because I've grown as a man, and as a man, I've grown better understanding. Now, when you add that with the times that we're living in, and where we see ourselves going as far as progression, then a lot of the old lessons start to really time release, like time release capsules, and boom, oh, that applies to now. Oh,
Mm,
that applies to now, right?
yeah,
It
yeah.
applied then, but oh, it really applies now. So with this new medium, since we didn't have social media in this regard that we have it now. Like
Yeah.
social media now is the media.
Right.
You know, you want to, you know, get funky with it. It's the
Absolutely.
media now, good or bad. It's the media.
It is the
So,
media.
so, so that just brought about a wider, more accessible platform to speak my mind, to speak my thoughts, and share with others lessons that I've learned that I think may be relevant to everyone, or, you know, or take from it what you will. Like, okay, that's relevant to me. Maybe not that so much. Oh, that I actually understand. I'm with that. So it's a little bit of the way the world is, my growth as a man and as a spiritual being, and the accessibility of platforms to share. You know,
That's dope. So I've noticed from speaking with people, um, matter of fact, I told you I just saw Brother Polite in
yes,
the airport, and
yeah,
he's definitely one of them. So it's like, I not I don't know what he categorized himself as, just atheist, or I don't really know, because sometimes he's like, how do y'all believe in that? But then he's the most well studied that I know
right.
of all the religions. I'm like, I don't know where he sits in the spectrum, but when I hear him speak on, oh no, not him, sorry. When I hear certain people from a Muslim belief speak about Christians, and certain things about Christians speak about Muslim, of course, there's always a division. It feels like there's always a division. So as you, someone who has a very diverse view of it because of how you were raised, what things do you see, or are there principles that you see on one side or the other that organically create that division, or is that just kind of all man-made? Because I've never really understood it.
For the most part, from my understanding, or from my experience, is mainly man-made. Most of the division comes from perspective and understanding of the same root scriptures, or the way that the scriptures may have been presented,
Hmm.
right, in the way that we learn them.
Yeah.
But the differences, when you start, you know, doing your list, the differences look like this. In the, on face value, they look like this.
Hmm.
But when you start looking at differences versus similarities, or versus the root that of beliefs, the differences start to look like this, real minute, and then they start to seem menial, because it's like, okay, with that difference that you may have in perspectives or ideologies, what how does that affect you more so than this similarity that you have affects you? And then it starts to be like, well, actually, it doesn't really mean as much as I thought it did in the beginning.
Hmm.
You know, it's just that, okay, agree to disagree, maybe. So then people start to rethink
Yeah.
how they view someone else based on the lens that they were equipped with, or that they were taught, or that the bubble that they came up in.
Hmm.
So most of it can be what am I trying to say? Clarified by actually speaking with empathy to understand. And you say, oh, I guess we're actually kind of saying the same thing,
Hmm.
just from two different angles. But I was so busy trying to prove how right I am, and you were so busy trying to prove how right you were, that we didn't realize it. You know? So
So that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So that that does make me think of, there's one big difference that I actually feel like it might have been, I'm not gonna put a name on it. There's a big difference that I heard from someone, and
mm,
it's very specific, and there's an insinuation in it, but uh they kind of left it. They kind of threw out the insinuation and then was like, I mean, hey. So it's it's in the idea.
mm,
We all know, spiritual beings don't have to necessarily be a gender, or as today's world wants to say, assigned a gender.
okay,
But God is often spoken of in Christianity as more of a male term, if you had to give it one, right?
right,
Um, you know, he, is used more often. I don't know in the Quran how Allah is referred to, but I do know this, or sorry, I was told this, that somewhere before recent translations of the Quran, it was, or maybe even today, but it wasn't Allah, it was a lot. And a lot was referring more to a female deity. And that is why, and the representation of a lot was in the mosque, that's why the top of the mosque has a nipple, like the shape is of a nipple. Have you ever heard it? I'm not standing on it. This was a very intense spiritual debate that I was listening to. Both people were like, one I'm not going to go into it. They were very well researched, studied, lifelong theologians of their own right, and they were presenting these arguments. And the argument was from the guy that was from the Nation of Islam was the one saying it, and he was saying we need to get away from today always putting our women second fiddle. Because even in the structure of a household, it's the man then the woman, but Alat was a female deity. So, and then it talked about how woman giving birth, woman giving life through nutrients, woman, that's why the nipple is on the child. Like, he was connecting all of those things, and how the first surge of consciousness was through the nipple, basically, and what they get from colostrum, and he went in, and I was like, okay, I mean, what am I gonna say? I don't know, brother. I don't know, brother. So, do you know anything, or have heard anything about that?
Well, yes, I've heard many things actually throughout my journeys, but I can say that I'm still a baby. I always say I'm still a baby on my journey. And for me to speak matter of factly about those things, or that perspective, whether to agree or debate it in depth, I'm not equipped to do that. Gotcha, and I would be false flagging if I did. You understand? I'm like, yeah, man, because on the real, what he's saying, and I can't do that if that's a little deeper lesson than I have. You understand what I'm saying? But
we ain't false flagging.
Right, I don't want to false flag, but I do know that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that there are no goddesses. He said God created male and female gods. That's why in the nation there is no putting the woman down here and you follow back there and da 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 da. He was like, all right. The minister was like, okay, try to tell a black woman all that and see what happened. You understand? Go ahead, knock yourself out and see what happened. Because they are there to be our counterparts, to strengthen us. And we're there to strengthen them, and that's what makes us that whole. Yeah. So God created male and female gods in his likeness.
So is that where you get the "we are gods" statement from?
Correct.
And so what do you feel about that? What's your take on "we are gods" as humans?
Yeah, I fully believe that, because in what's the verse where he says, ye are all God's children of the most high God, right? So Jesus, and this is Jesus was the epitome, the representative of what a God is, of living your life in total submission to God, the way that God created you to be, created you to live, right? Now that's that representation of the God in you, finding the God within yourself. Because if we're made in his image and he's God, then what does that make us? Right? We may not be the God, but we are children of God. Little guys will look at it like gods with little G's. You understand?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
so and when you start to view yourself in that way of being from that lineage, then you start to hold yourself accountable, and then you become in the way that Jesus became, the way that God, following God's laws, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get that. I've always struggled with that concept because then there's also scripture that talks about how we are uh all like filthy rags in his eyes, in a way to kind of show that no matter what you achieve or what you think of yourself on this earth, you still know better than the next person. We're all
Okay,
under
there
God,
you go.
and so because of that, it I don't know, I guess maybe it's what we expect to hear or the way we expect it to be put, but you kind of feel like if being created in the image of something, right? Like my son is very much in the image of me, like your son, very much in the image of you. Like he's still not you. He very much has your features. He very much will have some of your attitude,
Mhm.
some of your behaviors, right?
Right,
Maybe even some of your habits,
right.
but he will never actually be a you.
Mhm.
And so I've always struggled with that because I'm like, and really the way it's always presented, because I heard it first from someone who attended agape church, and they presented it like, if you stop looking to God to do something for you and realize, and I'm paraphrasing, that you are a God, then you can take more control knowing that you can do. And I was like, I don't really have to look at myself as a God
Mhm.
in order to do that. I feel like if I was a God, I can control death. I feel like if I was a God, I can control my flesh differently. I
Mhm.
can not just be this thing. I could be what I want to be, not just go about, you know what I mean, in this flesh, in this time
Right.
span, in the way that I want, but I feel like I could have more control over the universe as a whole.
Well, it has been said that if we were to tap in more so into the way that we used to be and the way that we were living when we were living by God's laws, before we were looking at religion, before religions were created, it was God's laws, God's way of life, right? There's no
Yeah.
this,
Yep.
that, and that. Now,
Yep. Laws were made around God. It was like
so, right. So,
biblical law was law.
exactly. So if
Right.
we were to live in that way, then we would actually be able to unlock more of that God power within us to control multiple things, many things. And I think the part that usually it's like a turn off when people say, you God, you do it yourself, you a God, you the God, right? Is that
Right.
it's a lot of times it's presented in this vain way, right? It's presented in this cocky, arrogant, like as though you're like, are you kind of saying that you are the God? Right? In a
Right.
sense, when
Like you don't need God.
right. So
Right.
and I think that ends up becoming the conversation rather than the root of where that was based in, which was based in the
Hmm.
humility of submitting to God
Hmm.
so that God feeds you to become a God in his likeness, not to become
Hmm.
him, not to become the God, but to become a God in his likeness. Like I say, God with the little g, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. And so if you could, on an earlier episode, we were talking about how you don't see a lot of men um, donating their time you like you used to.
Mhm.
Like you don't see the Big Brother programs. You don't see the Boy Scouts and the Boys and Girls Club. You go to a Boys and Girls Club, it's mainly
Yeah.
women. Like men aren't really giving of their time to like the next generation. So how do you see the principles, or what principles of the Nation of Islam do you believe would help to stimulate men to do that, and or that young men could hear to help give them some of that energy, even if they didn't have a man to come back and give it to them as far as donating the time?
Gotcha. So the nation has a military slash program that instills things to become a man. And this is from they're known as the Fruit of Islam, the FOI, right? They're the ones that you see moving about, and the ones that you don't want to mess with, right? The ones that everybody hire as their protection whenever they go somewhere. So the main blueprint program from the Nation of Islam is self-reliance, right? Building for ourselves. Once we start to understand that everything that we need to instill within our children, our generations, and to show them that it's possible for us to do it on our own is already within us. We just have to unlock it. We have to learn the ways of how to do that. So the main principles are self-reliance, self-confidence in who we are as a people, that unity of who we are as a people, and collective economics, collective what's the word I'm trying to say? It's slipping my mind, but collective economics, collective love, collective unity of us as a people. Then we'll start to see each other. That's why in the nation they call each other brother and sister before they say anything. That's brother minister so and so. That's brother doctor so and so. That's sister doctor so and so. Because you need to see yourselves as brothers and sisters. Once you start to see each other as brothers and sisters, then it becomes that family here in your heart and here to make sure that you look out for one another and start to, okay, your child is my child in that sense, right? I need to look out for your child like I would look out for my child, and I need to school them and show them the ways. I need to be their present the same way that I would hope you would be their present for me and my family or my children in my absence, because we are family. That goes back to that old adage, it takes a village, right?
It takes a village.
So we start getting into that mentality, then we'll start to see more men present in these programs. And you know, there's a myriad of reasons of what happened to the breakdown of why we're absent at this point in time. Like there's a myriad of reasons throughout history that's been intentional of knocking us down.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
But now we're at a point where we can now build it back ourselves. It just takes us to take us to that next level.
Okay, that might also answer my next question. Maybe not.
Okay.
So so listening to you and knowing you, and also hearing what you said in the beginning of like being raised with, you know, kind of like two foundations in so many words, knowing the principles and cornerstones of both, and kind of evolving as a man through both of those journeys, but kind of simultaneously. If both of them, like we said, kind of conclude back to the same point, why not one or the other? Why both?
Because I personally don't believe there's any one way to, as far as religion goes, organized religion as far as they go, one way to find your path to God, right? Now that can also get a little loose, because you know we start to treat our relationship with God like a buffet, like I take a little bit of this, I don't want that don't apply to me. Nope, that takes too much discipline, I just don't want to do it, it's too hard. Oh, that's easy, I'll take some of that, right? All right. So I don't want to get into that, you know, float towards that. But let's say we're both on a journey and we're coming from two different places, but we're trying to get to the same place. Our roads aren't going to be the same. Now, who's to say that your road is any better or worse than my road if we're traveling to the same place from different destinations? Now, I say go with the path that works for you, as long as that path is the right path leading you to the right place, and you're not playing around with that path just because you want to be lazy, or you want to have your cake and eat it too, and not be held accountable. So that's why I personally has never been the type of person to say, no, it's either this or that's it. It's a wrap on you. Yeah, I've never been that guy.
So okay, so before I ask my question, because I actually don't remember, is Jesus Christ crucifixion and resurrection a part of the Muslim belief?
Is his crucifixion and resurrection in which sense, in which regard?
In the sense of, well, let's just say in the sense of that it happened.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And in the sense of it was prophecy and his destiny for that to happen, specifically to alleviate us from our sins and to free us.
In a sense. I think where that divide starts to come in is interpretation and perspective, right? Where you may have one sect say, well, because he died, he died on the cross, and because he died, we free. We do, you do what you want. He absorbed the sins, right? As a way to not be held accountable for yourself, right? But then you have another sect that looks at it as, okay, this is allegorical, or this is a parable, right? For the understanding of the ultimate sacrifice for your beliefs and for your people, right? So now is this prophecy of what's to come, or is that actually recorded history, right? And that's where a lot of people divide. Is that where?
And now is when you're saying that, are you saying that is one of the differences in the Nation of Islam? They're not necessarily looking at it as an act of history, but that is more of a representation of the prophecy of the future.
Yeah, in a sense, yeah.
Okay. So then, because what the question was, you were saying that basically two people can be on two different roads going to the same destination, and how much does it matter if they're on two different roads? And so the first thing I thought was, but if, let's say, I'll do it literal and then metaphorical. So let's say literally, if the path to the destination on the Christian side says you have to go through Jesus, like there's recognizing that Jesus died for your sins, accepting God, accepting Jesus as your savior, like that is the only road, right? And that's specific in the Holy Bible to make it out that way, of like no man shall enter unless he be, and then it goes, baptized by the water, right? Or reborn. I think they say reborn by water. And so anyway, so you got that. So that makes the roads so different that then you can't get to the destination the same if one or the other's right?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily, because as Jesus says, the way to the the way to the kingdom of heaven is through me, right?
Yep.
So now you can take that literally, or you can take that figuratively, and you'll still end up in the same place. Meaning, if the way to heaven is through the path of Jesus, meaning to crystallize your likeness in the same manner that Christ himself crystallized himself and humbled himself to submit to the will of God, you're still following Christ. You're still following Christ's example. You're still following his way of being, which is still to God, right? Because even if you believe that he died for your sins and your way to God is through him, you still have to do the work to be crystallized in the way of Christ to submit to God to get to God. You see what I'm saying? So you still end up in on the same road. That fork at some point has to do this, right? One might go like this to get there, and one might do that or here to get there. But at some point, that fork is going to get you right here, and you're going to have to get to God in the same sense. You know, so even if you disbelieve in those two senses, or you might believe a little bit of this, maybe a little bit of that, maybe this is parable, maybe this is embellished or rewritten a million times, so it presents this way. Whichever way you look at it, you're still going to end up back on that exact same road at the end of your relationship to God, crystallized in that manner according to God's laws. Boom, on that road.
Okay, so we're saying that both religions, if you're just joining us, we're having a conversation about Christianity and the Nation of Islam. Hold on, the religion is Muslim, or how do I say it? We'll make sure I'm saying it. Christianity and Muslims, or Christianity and the Nation of Islam. Which one is more grammatically correct, I guess?
Well, the religion is Islam, right?
The religion is Islam.
Say, right? So you say, okay, you're Muslim. But the Nation of Islam is, as it says, a nation of Islam. So there's multiple religions and organizations and sects and whatnot within Islam itself. You got Sunni and Shiite and all that stuff, right? Just like in Christianity, you have Baptist and Seventh-day Adventists and Catholic and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But it all falls under Christianity. So when you're talking about the nation, then it just all depends on what specifically you're asking or speaking about. But so far, you've been talking exactly about the nation, asking me about the nation. So yeah, you're on your point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I forgot where I was going, but I don't know if this as far as the history. It's just a question that popped up. And you may or may not know it because, like you said, you're a baby in it, but I also know that you know about it. So I'm always surprised and intrigued of why religions come up, right? Like who decided this? Why did you decide it? What was your reason? Did you feel like you got a direction from God? Was it from some personal thing? Were you trying to create a business and found out churches have the best tax breaks? Like what was your reason, right?
Right.
And so when I hear all these religions, and I've done the same thing with like Methodists and Seventh Days, like what was wrong with it already, right? And so my question is, do you know why the Islamic faith was even brought to the forefront? Why did they create this new religion to get to the same path? Almost like when you say, hey Siri, give me directions down to Krispy Kremes, and she gives you 3 directions, right? And she responded, my bad. She gives you three choices.
Krispy Kreme.
Right. She gives you 3 choices.
Right.
One takes 2.5 minutes. Another one takes 7 minutes. Another one takes 9 minutes. I'm like, why'd you even give me these other ways when you had a very direct, short, succinct response?
Right.
Why do I need these other? So do you know what did the founders, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, or any of the founding members of the Islamic faith, what made them say we need this? That's cool, and we're on board with them, but we need to do it a different way.
Right. Now Well, that's a few things, right? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is Nation of Islam, right? So that's 1930. July 4th, 1930 is when the Nation of Islam was founded,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
But Islam itself,
Right. It's longer.
you know,
Yeah.
now from what I understand is because humans are humans, right? So when humans fall, God has to send new prophets, new ways to say, "Hey, let's get back on track. This failed here. You're going astray. You're doing this. Da 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 da. Here's your warners. Here's your prophet. Here's a way to find your way back here." Right now, when you look at the word Islam, Islam just means submission to the will of God. Right? When we think of Islam, we think of the religion or what we perceive the religion to be, but it just means submission to God's will, right? And Muslim is he who submits his will to the will of God. That's it. That's all, right? Just like Christian is crystallized in the way of Christ, in these things, right? So I believe that these religions that sect off and break off, and it comes from a myriad of reasons. Some of them are pure, and someone may have been called, and some of them we know that. We know they just try to, whatever. And some may believe they've been called, but haven't. And who knows why different people come up with different sects and different churches and splinter off in this. And well, we kind of believe that, but we don't believe that, so we're going to start our own here. And I had to talk with God, and God said I should do this and bring it here, but I like that from that, so I'm gonna take that and then I'm gonna start mine here and incorporate these principles, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. So I don't think there's a one answer to that question. That question is so complex by this point in 2023, based on all of these hundreds, thousands, millions, billions, and trillions of years. That it's so many reasons why there's so many religions at this point.
I get that. In the chat, Erica has made a post that says, "I agree that the similarities lie in the manner of living within the intent of reaching the ultimate goal. With the Nation of Islam, what is the end goal after death?" How do you answer that?
Well, and that's where
the fork opened up again.
Yeah,
so what you're saying is in life there's two, and then the forks come together, and then you die, and then that fork open up again.
I don't know if the fork opens up, but the ideologies about what happens after is different.
Okay.
So in the Nation, they don't believe in. The Nation doesn't believe in life after death in the sense of you die and then you float, and your spirit floats off into the skies, and you walk and you're on the clouds, and you're playing kickball with your relatives that passed away and all
kickball.
So the Nation doesn't believe in life after death in that sense, in that regard. They believe in your heaven and your hell is a condition of life here on earth that you create within yourself, and that we create in the environment. And whereas in Christianity, or at least for the most part in Christianity, you believe that after you die, then you meet God, you go to heaven.
It's kickball time.
Kickball time, right? Either kickball time or you askew on the Barbie, right? You frying up, right? So that's one where it starts to, where there's a difference in ideologies there. But in life, in order even to get to that point, you're still trying to get to this point. You're still trying to get that fork to go here, because what's the point of either one of them if you're not living under God's laws?
Right.
You understand?
Yeah. And I wonder what is the since exactly what you said, like we don't really know what happens after anyway, right? And
Right.
because Islam came, so many years after Christianity, it wasn't like when Islam came, or any other religion for that matter, but for this conversation, it wasn't like when Islam came, now they knew. It was like we still don't know. So I wonder what caused them to look at it different. You see what I'm saying? Like
Well,
what made them go, okay, it's the same, like you said, it's the same end goal. We believe in the same things. We're gonna have some of the same root stories, but the thing that no one knows, we think something different with it. You know what I mean? Like I wonder what.
now, when you say Islam, you're speaking more towards Nation of Islam, because the whole of Islam, everyone in under the umbrella of Islam, they don't exactly agree on all of that,
Okay,
right?
so where are Muslims?
Mm-hmm.
Where are Muslims? And in this spectrum, are Muslims a sect under the Islamic faith, or is the Islamic faith under
In
being a
well,
Muslim, or is
Islam is the umbrella. So Islam is the umbrella, right?
Islam's
So
umbrella?
everyone under Islam is
Okay,
considered a
so
Muslim.
the Sunnis and the Muslims,
Shiites and yeah,
Shiites, that's all under.
all of that is considered Muslim. They're all considered Muslim. The Nation of Islam, everyone who's under Islam is considered Muslim, right? And
Okay, so if I
and
say Muslim, so Muslim is a better term to, well, maybe not, but is it a better term to generalize the conversation of the overall beliefs of the Islamic faith, or is it not, because then Sunnis don't believe what Muslims believe?
well,
Well,
they're
no,
both
because
they're
Sunnis
all
are
Muslims,
Muslims.
right? But yeah, they believe a little differently. Just like now, we tend to say Christians, and we mean the whole of Christianity, just
Right,
everybody,
right.
right? We say that as an umbrella term,
Right.
when in reality, these different sects believe in different things. These different denominations believe in differing things. They might have a core belief system, but then they believe different things of what happens here, what happens there, da 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 da. It's the same in Islam, right? And Islam, when we look at the religion and you say, okay, that came later, then we can also look at Islam as saying, no, Islam was here in the beginning, because it wasn't a religion. There was no religion. We look at the religion, the organized religion of Islam, as trying to put a date and a stamp on that. But Islam as a way of life, meaning he who submits his will to the will of God, that's from the beginning. That's all the way to the beginning. So there is no Muslim, Christian, Jew, whatever, none of that, because it's all back to the beginning. So that's what I'm saying. We get caught up on the terms and not the definition, or what it actually means. If any of that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, we ain't gonna force feed it no more. We can go into it another time. I don't know how much time you got with me today. We ain't really talk about that, but you know, give me something, throw up a 10 or whatever when it's time for you to wrap it up. Shoot me a text while we on the phone. I'll be like, all right, I got you. I think you said we got around an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a little few minutes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I wanted to shift gears and talk to you about the mega fight. I
Yeah.
know that in your younger years you were in the boxing gym, throwing them combos.
Yes, sir.
So I know you keep your ears to the street in the boxing world.
Yes,
And we
sir.
finally got the fight that every boxing fan has been screaming for. We finally got it. We got Terrence Bud Crawford against Errol Spence Jr.,
Yes, sir.
the big fish.
The big fish. Yes, sir.
The big fish. They have already been talking. It's been getting crazy in the face-offs. My question to you, the big question, and don't give me this answer that everybody says, like, I mean, it could go either way. Well, obviously it can go either way. Obviously.
It's a 50-50
shot. So
yeah.
Who do you have in this big fight of the big fish versus Bud? Who do you think comes out keeping that O on their record?
Well, you can go either way, brother. No. Somebody always got to go. All right. I think Errol Spence is gonna come out victory. I think he's coming out the victor. As much as I love Bud, I mean, because Bud is that dude. I mean, he's ranked pound for pound #1. He's naturally a bigger hitter, more powerful hitter, and he may even be a little more athletic in a sense, right? Yeah. Plus, he switched southpaw, boom. He's switch hitter, boom, 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 right? Effortlessly,
and does it well. Yeah.
Crazy, fluid. Right? So on paper, he looks like he that dude.
Yeah.
But what Errol Spence has is he has this uncanny knack to just break down an opponent. I don't care who it is. He has a way to break that opponent down to where they can't function the way that they normally do.
They normally do, yeah.
And he pulls out that dub. I mean, I gotta go with Errol Spence on this, man.
You going Errol Spence. Now, one thing I want to say to a point you just made was that I saw an interview with Sean Porter, and Sean Porter has fought both. And the question was asked to Sean Porter, who hits harder? Sean Porter said, oh, Spence hits harder.
Ooh.
Spence hits harder.
Ooh.
Because I was thinking the same thing. I'm thinking when I watch it, Spence seems like more of an accumulation.
Yeah.
Spence seems like he's just giving you the death punch. It used to be the 7 points. He do the 138-point death punch, and you just ain't functioning no more. But Crawford seemed like he got the power.
Yeah,
he got the power advantage. But Porter, like I said, been in there with both.
Porter knows some things.
Porter didn't hesitate. He didn't waver. He said it confidently. Spence hits harder.
Yeah, and he fought Spence first.
Right. Right. So recency bias is out the window because he could easily say the person I got hit more recently by.
Yep. Okay.
So that had me scratching my head because I've been saying since it was even before it was announced, I said I got Spence.
Yeah.
I said I got Spence. I feel like I feel like it can go either way, but I feel like Spence, to me, I'm always leaning towards the more technical of the fighters. That's just what I gravitate to, right?
Yeah.
The one who seems like their ring IQ is just a little better. The one that's a tactician just a little more. The one that I feel is a little more strategic. I'm always going to kind of lean in that direction more than the brawler. The hard part about this fight is they both got great ring IQs.
Yes, sir.
Crawford got more fights than Spence.
Yep. What are you like, 39-0? And
something like that.
Spence is like 27-0.
27, yeah. Big gap. But Spence made a great point in the face-off. He was like, yeah, but you ain't fought nobody.
Ooh.
He said in top rank makes the best fights. Everybody knows that. I've been fighting, and he didn't say this part, but he's been fighting champions.
Yes, sir.
He's been dethroning champions, taking their straps.
Yep.
So your numbers look good. You ain't did what I did to get here. Your fire was like walking across coals. My fire was like a 12-alarm building or 5-alarm, 5-alarm fire. Like it's different.
Hey, I gotta agree with him on that, bro. I agree with him on that.
I was like, yo, when you hear boxers in a face-off, you're usually not listening for the intellect. Let's keep it real. But but that point was masterful. I'm like,
Yep. See, and
So
that's his first move. That's his first move right there. Because now Crawford gotta sit with that.
you gotta sit with that.
Ooh.
You gotta sit with that. And
Yep.
and you gonna look at it. You gonna think about it.
Yep.
You gonna look at, let me see, what was my last 10 fights? What was his last 10 fights?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Ooh.
And I felt bad for Porter in that first face-off because they both got to talking about Porter, and then they got to talking about, but who did him worse? Yeah, but I knocked that eye out. Yeah, I closed that. I'm like, dang, Porter, dang, Porter. And then when I was listening to the Porter interview, they had Roy Jones Jr. was on there, and you know
Yeah.
Roy Jones, he stuttering flippity flub all the time,
Of course.
and so he was Roy was trying to say everybody wants to see who's the number one fighter, Spence or Crawford. What he said was everybody wants to see who's the number one fighter, Porter. I mean, not Porter. And I'm like, dang, you just like he's sitting right there.
Yeah.
Like, no, they ain't trying to figure out what you because they both beat you already. So
that's
Porter,
so cold.
not Porter. Like,
that's so cold.
And then Porter had to sit there like
he couldn't do anything.
Like, what do you say?
He's like facts.
All right, man. I wish we could be together at the watch party. I know you're gonna be watching it. I'm definitely getting it out here. Where you go? What happened? What happened? I lost him. He must. I know he had to go. Maybe did you set a timer on me, bro? Did you set a timer? As soon as the timer went off, you was out. No, I'm pretty sure he had some kind of technical difficulties. He may call back in, he may not. I know his time was up. I appreciate you, Edvanzd, for being in the building. Everybody else that joined in, that watched the live or that's listening later on, please, if you enjoy the content, subscribe to the channel. Pod is good is the podcast. Yeah, there you go. I was sitting here saying, man, I guess he said an hour. He must have some specific timer on the computer, like shut him off after an hour was done. But yeah, I was saying, I wish we were closer. We can have that fight party together, but maybe we'll jump on live or something and and have a fight party on here. Who knows? Hey. But hey, we might as well. I can have up to I think 8 or 10 guests. We could all be in here watching the fight, react. I think that'll be crazy. Yeah, you got Spence. I got Spence. I got a few people around me that got Crawford. So
who got Porter?
Porter maybe. Nah, Porter don't sound like he got.
I'm sorry, brother. And Porter cold. But what's crazy is Porter's cold.
Oh man,
it's right. So like all jokes aside, Porter is that dude.
Porter's that dude.
So
Porter just be. It seems like he's one of them guys. Like he be feeling like a football team that you love, that they got all the pieces, or they do great in the game, even an NBA team, but for some reason they just lose by 2.
Yeah.
The last minute they kicked the field goal. Oh, they lost by 1, and it's like the record make them look like they ain't that great, but it's like no, they're great, but something always just knocks them right down, and that's Porter to me.
Yeah.
Porter is that guy. Like he is one. He's dominant, explosive, powerful, fast, like dynamic fighter. But some reason, it just can't get right. Just can't get right.
Shame. Okay. Boy, get off here.
My God, Edvanzd. Thank you, boy, for blessing episode 7. I appreciate you greatly. Pod is good.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate you for having me, family.
That's my fault. I forgot to tell you.
Yes,
when I say pod is good, you're supposed to say all the time. That's my fault. And then I say all the time, and you say pod is good.
Well, let's rewind that then.
Let's rewind. Let's go back. Thank you, bro, for blessing episode 7. I appreciate you, my man, in the building. Pod is good.
All the time.
And all the time.
Pod is good.
My man, Edvanzd. You can tell the people where they can find you. Anything you want to plug, let them know right now.
You can find me on all social media If you see the name at the bottom, Edvanzd, Edvanzd, it's the same across the board. I got a documentary about St. Louis. It's called Target St. Louis that I
Fire.
produced. That's
Fire.
out, man. We talking about how the government targets us and does us wrong. Directed by Damian D. Smith. All St. Louis natives right there. So that's love right there. That's hometown. And then I got some new music on the way that I'm very excited about. But
Yeah. Yeah. That's what's up. Yeah, y'all check my man out. Matter of fact, if I can get you back on next week, let's talk about the documentary. And I say that because number one, it needs to get more eyes on it, as all the work that we do does. But there was a question I was actually going to bring up, but we got deep into the nation, deep into faith. I was going to ask you about the differences that you've felt socially going from Los Angeles to Atlanta to Chicago, obviously from St. Louis. Those are some huge Black cultures that you've been a part of. And I wanted to get your take on what you felt as far as the differences in those. And so maybe we can talk about that, kind of bridging off from the documentary in the next conversation.
sound like a winner.
All right, my man. I appreciate you, bro.
Yes, sir.
Take time. Everybody else, we out. Pod is good. This is Cashmere, California.